Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of War on China. I am once again joined by the great, the fantastic, the very famous, the very popular Mario Cavolo on another episode of this show, The War on China. Um, I would like to take care of a couple of things, take care of business, and explain to you some of the things that have been taking place. Unfortunately, YouTube has been demonetizing our videos, meaning that they don't get pushed, they don't get seen by many people. So, one of the things that we want to ask you to do is to please follow us on Twitter. You can be informed of anything that we have to say or anything that we plan to do here on the show. So that's a very important one, please. So that's Mario Cavolo, and that is China Teacher One. Before we go any further, could anybody tell me if the sound is okay? That would be really good. And also, if you're already here, then make sure to subscribe to our channels. The links are in the description down below. And in addition to this, make sure that once you hit the subscribe, also hit the like button. It really does help the algorithm. And before we go into the topic, remember to support the work that we do by hitting the links in the description down below and supporting our work through PayPal, or if you're here in China, through Wechat. But without any other delays, I would like to jump right into the first topic of today's show. And share my co-host with you and what he has to say about our first case. Mario, how are you? And whatever you want to say as a welcome, and then we go into Menguanto.
Whatever I want to say as a welcome, we're still angry. Fernando, you know, the situation is going and going and going, and every day everybody needs to come to grips with the reality that the news cycle is going to remain ugly like this. It's going to remain ugly like this. And the reason it's going to remain ugly like this is because the mission that mainstream media is on is to keep you distracted from what really matters. Now, fortunately, I know that all of you as our viewers, and hello to all of you this evening. Great to see all of you again. Fernando, great to be back with you. I know all of you are awake and smarter than that, but we have to recognize the war that we are in. This is the war on China, but it's also a war for your mind. It's a war for your mind. I never understood until the last 2 years, and I consider myself a pretty experienced person in life. Been through a lot of stuff, up and down. Had a lot of failures and pain and misery. Had a lot of wonderful successes and blessings too. So I think that gives you some wisdom in life. And I never realized the degree to which the media, and they work together with the government, and they do messaging, they drive messaging, brainwashing messaging into you to make you think things that are, in fact, completely and totally not true. Now, you think about that for a second. That's pretty damn scary. And we, of course, could discuss this topic in and of itself. It's in 10 books. We could discuss it for years and years and years and never end the discussion. All the examples, historically proven, clear, they're in the historical record, demonstrable examples. I want to start off tonight with one. Huawei, and the case of Huawei's CFO, Meng Wanzhou, who is still, after 2 years, sitting in Canada. Look, facts are facts. Huawei is a great company. They are, in fact, in the face of brutal and absurd efforts to block them, they're innovating and doing even better because they're facing these challenges. It's causing them to rise up with the challenge. This is a fact. Okay, I'm very happy to be one of their global thought. I'm one of their members of their global thought leadership platform. I've written articles for them. I've done videos for them, and I enjoy doing it. And I love the freedom that they give me to do the research, to learn, and to then produce what I know is rock solid. I've told you this before. Okay, if I tell you something about China or something about Huawei, it's because it's been researched. You can take it to the bank. Okay, it's not rhetoric. It's not assertions without evidence. It's not rah-rah, sis-boom-bop propaganda. It's just cold, hard reality. And when it comes to Huawei, here's one of the cold, hard realities. And please do go see my first video that I did for Huawei called Trust in Tech. Okay, it's on their platform. It's on my YouTube channel. Watch that video that I did for Huawei. You know what? You can't and shouldn't use Huawei equipment and software because they're spying on you and going to take your data. That's what you were told. And that's the reason that Huawei should be stopped from doing business in Europe and the United States. This is just incredible. This is exactly an example of a story, a made-up delusional fantasy that you were told is the absolute truth, to the point where they even had congressional hearings about it. So, it must be true. They had a congressional hearing about it, right? And they wrote up a 150-page report. Oh, it's got to be true. Of course it's true. See, this is what they do. Do you know the actual truth? And this is known fact. The actual truth is exactly the opposite. Can you imagine? The reason that they came down hard on Huawei was not because Huawei's equipment spies on you and allows backdoors, but because Huawei refused to do that. You see, Microsoft, Google, Alcatel, and all the other, Cisco, all the other providers of telecommunications and computer equipment in the United States already have agreed to and go along with the law of the United States government and the law of the NSA, the National Security Agency, which tells them they must give the NSA a backdoor into your privacy and your data. That's the truth. What's Mario talking about? What, do you forget the guy named Edward what's Snowden?
Snowden?
Forget Assange sitting in the jail? Okay. You forget all. So it's not just me. These are the facts. Okay. So what do you think Huawei said? They said, well, you want to do business in the United States of America, you need to do the same as all the other companies. You need to allow us to put a backdoor into your equipment so that we can go in and we want to be able to access the data. Huawei was like, we're not going to let you do that. And that's why they're crushing Huawei, because they won't play ball. In fact, second part of it, and this is in my video, Huawei has offered to prove that they did two things. They handed over their entire source code of their software and their hardware. They handed over the whole source code. Nothing was found. Of course, nothing was found. Okay, just like there's no forced labor and genocide in Xinjiang, because you can't find what's not there. Okay, and Huawei offered to do, and it's a standing offer, a mutual no backdoor pact with any vendor. I mean, if that doesn't reveal the truth, nothing does. How many vendors have signed the mutual no backdoor pact working with Huawei? Because the other part won't sign it. Okay, so this is the truth about Huawei. Now, what am I telling you this? I want to tell you the bad news. You know, I mean, it's tough. It's discouraging regarding Meng Wanzhou. She's up against the wall. We don't know what's going to happen. We can only hope that it's going to be a good result in August, which is coming up. But the most recent situation, I had just written another article updating on the Meng Wanzhou case. I posted it the same place I posted my many of my articles, including my famous original article about the pandemic. Something's not right here, folks. I posted that on LinkedIn. I posted my most recent Meng Wanzhou article update on her case on LinkedIn. I posted it about 2 weeks ago. So also you can find that. Go ahead and give that a read. Update you on the situation. But the bad news is that follows the good news. The good news was that Meng Wanzhou's lawyers came to an agreement with the HSBC in Hong Kong to release emails and other evidence, documents, internal documents at HSBC, clearly showing that the accusations, the allegations for which Meng Wanzhou was arrested in Canada at the behest of the FBI for the United States of America, that the charges and allegations are 100% not valid and false, period. And the evidence is there to show that. Can you imagine if you were accused of like being a murderer and you wanted to prove your innocence and there was the trial was ongoing and you finally were able to find the evidence to prove that you really truly didn't do it, and then you go back to the judge and tell the judge that, and then the judge looks at you and says, I'm not even going to let you show us that evidence. I'm not going to allow you to show it to us. We don't even want to see it. Well, excuse me, Your Honor. It's the truth. It shows the truth. Aren't we interested in the truth? Justice in the American way? No, we're not interested in that. We're not interested in that at all. What we're interested in is putting Huawei down economically. It's economic terrorism. And in this case, it's economic terrorism because it's Meng Wanzhou, a woman who's a CFO of a company. And they did the same thing to Frederick Parucci with Alstom. They had that guy arrested in Indonesia. He was with the French company. They did the same thing. Why? To help GE steal the business. It's economic terrorism. That's the truth. That's the story. That's topic number one for tonight. Boom. And I'm done with it. Fernando, what's next?
We're moving to Bloomberg. Bloomberg and the Nikkei list. This week, they produced a couple of lists. One was about resilience to COVID-19, and the other one was about recovery. They are seemingly very different lists, but what is really spectacularly different is who came on top. Nikkei was produced in Japan, and they released number one spot being China. When you go and look at Bloomberg, it actually lists China at number 8. And who's number 1? You know who's number 1. Number 1 is the USA. Now, how can that be? How can you be looking at something objectively? How could you be looking at something, the same thing, right? And end up with two different sets of lists. Now, you have to figure out and wonder, why is Bloomberg writing this list and putting America at number 1? Well, first of all, there are a couple of things that they don't write. They don't count, for example, deaths. They don't count number of infections. They count things, for example, like how fast did a country go back to full mobility and not needing social distancing and reopening airports. That's the responsible thing to do. And at that, America came up in number 1. But you don't need to go too far. When you look at just the numbers, on the day that they produced that particular list, the United States had 32,000 new cases. And that day, China had 14. And this has a lot to do with, well, where do these new cases come from? Why are we having new cases still? Because people are not getting vaccinated, because people don't want to get vaccinated. And it's all the misinformation that they get from people. Now, on the topic of vaccines and on the topic of not getting vaccinated, I want to talk a little bit about the effectiveness of vaccines. Now, with this new Delta variant, that's little parenthesis. Do you remember how the media was very quick to call it the Wuhan virus, the China virus? But now this is the Delta variant. No seemingly discernible place of origin for this particular variant. But anyway, let's move on. So we're talking about the efficiency, the effectiveness, excuse me, of the COVID vaccines. One thing that jumps to mind, why are these new vaccine manufacturers coming up and saying, hey, we're going to have to do a booster shot. After 6 months, you're going to need a third shot. Well, hold on one second. Why? Why do we need a third shot? What does that make you think? Were we lied at the beginning of this? Who didn't tell us the truth? The FDA? Why were these vaccines approved without enough information? Because it was all about a race. It's about coming to the market with the first vaccine so they can bring in the money. That's what it's all about. That's why they rush. Do you know how many steps and how many tests and how many procedures are required to actually certify a vaccine? They were all against on a race. Well, now apparently we need a third shot of the vaccine. Sinovac still not needed. I wonder why. But let's go back to this Delta variant and some of the information that we're seeing. We just heard recently that Bangladesh, who originally refused the donation that China gave them of COVID vaccines, the Sinovac vaccine. Now they have said, okay, I think that we need this because the vaccines that we are having, the ones that we got, they're not working. People are getting contagious. People are getting infected. People are getting COVID even after getting the vaccine. So they are, because the Delta variant is a lot stronger. So now they have actually come to China and said, like, please, we would like to have some of your vaccines if you're so kind. And now they're doing it. So people ask, okay, but is the Sinovac actually effective against the Delta variant? And the truth of the matter is that if you look at Pakistan hasn't had any spikes. They were able to flatten the curve and stayed curve, and they're not having any particular issues with the Delta variant or issues like China, which had 14 cases on the day that America had 32,000. So there are other countries that are also on this particular list. There's Italy, there's Romania, there's Hungary. All of these countries that received, my country, Colombia, we received the Sinovac vaccines, and we are not having problems with this Delta variant yet. Again, time will tell, but apparently it is effective against this Delta variant. But there's one more thing that it's important to consider when we're looking at vaccine diplomacy. And this is something that is extremely important to understand. China, why did China donate 500 million vaccines to the world, to more than 100 countries? Think about this for 1 second. China has 1.4 billion people. With 2 doses, they would need 2.8 billion vaccines to make sure that everybody's protected. And even so, they're still offering 500 million vaccines. How do you compare that to what America has been doing, hoarding the vaccines? They're just keeping them for themselves, trying to achieve herd immunity as quickly as possible, even though people don't want to get the vaccine. People are anti-vaxxers. I mean, you don't have to go too far. Remember Tucker Carlson? So again, how is it possible that we are getting a Bloomberg list that puts America at number 1 and China at number 8, and in Asia we have Nikkei coming with China at number 1 and America at number 22? Why are they lying to people? Why are they? Think about this. This is even criminal what Bloomberg is doing. They are selling a false sense of security. Remember when Trump used to say, oh, I don't want to get that cruise onshore. I don't want them to get down because the numbers are going to go up. Remember when Trump used to say, like, oh, the more you test, the more you find? Well, of course. You've been through this before. You've been through this false sense of security. Oh, it'll die in the summer. You're doing it again. And now it's a media company with financial, political interests trying to tell you it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. Look what happened in the UK. They decided to, let's just forget about all these regulations, accept the fact that people are going to die. What sense of defeat is that? You've been defeated, Boris Johnson. UK, you've been defeated by COVID. And you know why? You know what's the worst thing about this? They don't do what China did. Why? Ego. Ego. They cannot get themselves to do what China did because it would mean China has a leadership role in the world. How dare they? How dare they be better than us at this? Mario, what do you take on this? What's your take?
No, it's not just ego. They can't. They're not capable. They literally are not capable. They are so wrapped up. The government system and the way the government system has shaped the society, the people, and not all. And I'm not knocking the people, but I am knocking 30% of the people who are neoliberal, out of their mind, and selfish. It's not just their ego. They're not capable. They're literally not capable of having the sense of civic duty and community mindedness. They're too to the extreme of their neoliberalism. I, me. We've heard this over and over and over again. I want to add another point. I mean, can you imagine, because you mentioned about the vaccines, in UK now is having the spikes, thousands of cases per day. They weren't vaccinated with the Chinese vaccines. So, and no one's blaming the vaccines. So, they blame the vaccines if there's a spike. It's not that at all. It's all the other controls that they're also not doing. None of the vaccines are 100%. But anyway, that isn't even my point. I want to wrap this part up by bringing up a very important point I thought of just before the show. Could you imagine China is still, to this day, it became and still is to this day, more than ever, the economic growth engine and manufacturing center of the entire world. In fact, over the course of the last year and a half, because of the pandemic and through the pandemic, China's economy has gotten even stronger. And China's scale and ability to manufacture and send out to the rest of the world billions and billions and billions of pieces of product that the world needs, there's no one else that can even come close. Again, China has already sent out. By the way, Fernando, they didn't donate 500 million. Some of those were donated. Some of them were purchased. I just wanted to make that clarification. But who else sent out 500 million to the rest of the world to help the world? Nobody else. No one has the scale and capability. Okay. This is what I want to tell you. China got the virus under control quickly. We were here. We locked down with I was over there in that bedroom with my boy for 6 weeks. We didn't leave the house. We left the house twice a week just to get groceries at the approved grocery store downstairs. And the streets were deserted. And the entire country of China with 1.4 billion people, the streets were deserted. The malls were empty. Everything was empty and deserted for 6 weeks. That's what we did. Okay, that's called civic duty. That's called discipline. That's called sacrifice. That's called putting people's health first. We did that. And because we did that, China is, quote, back to normal. And China is able. Imagine if China wasn't able. Imagine if over the last year and a half, because China's exports have skyrocketed over the last year. They're up like another 20%. The exact opposite of what the United States is trying to do. They're trying to stop China. And it seems like everything they do is causing China to be needed even more. And China's up to the task and providing the world with countless billions of numbers of masks, countless billions of numbers of PPE that are being manufactured in China 24 hours a day and sent out all over the world to this day. Could you imagine if China was like the UK? If China was like the United States? If China did let the pandemic run wild and its economy would have gotten crushed and it wouldn't be able to be doing what it's doing to help the world right now, then where would the rest of the world be? What shape would the rest of the world be in now if China hadn't been sending out all this PPE and all of these masks, billions and billions? Imagine if China was offline and incapable of, that's what I'm trying to say. Imagine if China's manufacturing, including its medical manufacturing, went offline. Where would the rest of the world be? And that's what would have happened if China didn't beautifully, wonderfully, amazingly, quickly get the pandemic under control here in this country. We know it. Fernando knows it. I know it. All of us who are living here know it. We're living here. You should be so thankful. And so here is the country that if they did go down, the rest of the world would be even in 10 times worse shape than it's in right now. And what's the United States trying to do? Destroy that country's economy and sabotage that country at every turn instead of saying thank you. How sick is that?
Well, that moves us on topic number topic number 3, which is the U.S. Senate Xinjiang bill. And in a way, it's a good link because I need to show you where this bill comes from. This bill comes from the media peddling misinformation, lies, and misinterpretation of things. I need to show you a couple of clips from, well, a video that I actually studied and analyzed sentence by sentence. And I want to show you what they do and the kind of, when you put things together, it's unavoidable. You cannot deny what they do. So let's watch, and I'll see you at the end of these very short clips, okay? All right. You see here this Bloomberg reporter actually being told you cannot come into the factory because we need to follow orders from the Foreign Affairs Office and the Health Ministry. What are those? Foreigners need to quarantine. Foreigners need special permits and special tests in order to go into Xinjiang. And I speak from experience. I went there and they told me, okay, you're a foreigner, you come from Guangdong, you haven't left the country in 2 years, but anyway, you need to go over there and be tested again. You need to go over there and do what we require you to do. Every single place in China has different rules. What this person has been told is, look, the protocols are the protocols. Have you followed the protocols? You can't come in. They don't tell you everything. They just tell you, we need to follow the rules of our government. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Health says that this is what needs to be done. You can't come in. Now, let's go into number 2. Listen up.
The main place that we encountered workers was at Xinte. We just happened on the scene just around the time when they were changing shift, and a small group, 2 or 3 of those people stopped to listen to what I had to say. At which point they went almost on script and said, oh, we cannot speak to reporters, you have to speak to the company. We're not allowed to speak on behalf of the company.
Mario, I'm going to let you refresh people's memory of what happens when in the West you show up at a company unannounced and say, hey, can we talk to your leader? Can we talk to your CEO?
Well, this is exactly the point. This is the nonsense. Again, they tell you something to make you think that something nefarious is going on in China, when in fact, it's perfectly normal. And also, it's not only not nefarious, it's normal. it's reasonable, and it also takes place in any other country in which if you did the same thing. You know, I mean, think for a moment about places that exist, like companies. I don't know why what comes to mind, because I mean, I haven't lived in the United States for 21 years. And even when I was in the United States, the last city I was living in, I was in Southern California. But before that, I know my family is in Phoenix, Arizona, and Scottsdale. And I remember down on Scottsdale Road, there was a Motorola plant. There was a Motorola facility. It was quite famous. Man, hey, man, Fernando, remember 2000 coming to China? Motorola was the man, right? Motorola was the company. You know, Motorola and Nokia and Volkswagen. Can you imagine? Boy, times have changed. Yeah, it's incredible. Did you have your little Motorola Razr, you know, and your Nokia 3310? Geez, man, those are great memories. I mean, Nokia and Motorola, they were at the top of the world back then. Things change, you know. But anyway, there was a Motorola plant in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I mean, well, you go by, you walk, it's near my family's pizza restaurant, which my brother Nick still runs. Kudos to my brother Nick, good pizza. So the Motorola plant's right down there, and you walk past it. And what do you see? Okay, I mean, it's a business, and there's signs, authorized personnel only, employee parking lot, and there's a gate, and so what do you think is going to happen? And by the way, that I believe that Motorola plant is gone. That Motorola, I think it's gone now. But like any place, this is just a business in the United States. It's not. Does this surprise anybody? This is just normal. This is not a surprise. I'm sure it's the same in Germany. I'm sure it's the same in Italy. So, I mean, go ahead and just show up with your camera crew and start putting your camera in people's faces there. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, get the hell out of here in so many words, right? They're going to say, get the hell out of here.
You got to go. Spokesperson.
You got to get permission. So I made my point. My point is clear. Everybody understands. They try to make you think like this is something nefarious. It's not nefarious. It's common sense.
Right. You can't, employees cannot, they don't have the freedom to go and talk about what's going on in the company. And that happens also in Western countries. But in addition to that, Mario, tell me.
Fernando, thank you very much. You just brought up a very important point. Again, I'm in the communications industry. I work with a lot of corporations.
PR.
And one of the things that I do is media PR training. Okay, so what is media PR training? There are select people in the company who, if they're going to deal with the media, like be interviewed in the media, be interviewed on TV, hey, they need the skills, they need the on-camera skills, and they also need the communication and the messaging skills, how to talk in an interview, what to say, what not to say. Because you can get in trouble, especially in a media interview, you can get in a lot of trouble if you say the wrong thing and or say the wrong thing the wrong way. And companies have their messaging that they want to put out, which is very, very reasonable. Okay. So what you just said, Fernando, is a very, very important point. If you work for a company and you happen to just be any old employee, even if you've been there for 20 years, okay, and then the media happens to contact you and ask you a question, you're not authorized, literally. It's in HR policy. You could get fired. You could lose your job for, quote, being a whistleblower. That's not unique to China. That's not unique to hospitals. That's not unique to anyone, even if you call it being a whistleblower. Okay, you're not allowed to speak on behalf of the company, period. It's in the HR policy. This, again, is common in any country, in any HR policy. You're not authorized because you're not qualified to speak to the media. Simple.
Ladies, gentlemen, there's another tiny factor that Bloomberg forgets to tell you and that probably you don't know. This documentary, this video was produced after CNN and BBC had done their pieces, after they'd seen positive things and twisted them and turned them into negatives, hurting the Uyghur people, hurting Xinjiang, hurting the projects of the government to bring these people out of poverty into modernity and offer them new jobs and new opportunities in life. So they've had the experience of having media coming to their places, talking to their people, twisting the stories, and then ruining the region. What do you think they get told when they walk to the factories the next day? Don't talk to media. Now, this next clip is very important.
We, in the end, didn't make it into any of the polysilicon factories to see the facilities inside, and we didn't get to meet any of the executives, and only spotted a few workers.
So, what did we learn from this very short video? They got nothing. They got zero. But listen up.
The market for solar power has surged as governments and companies around the world race to stop global warming. That means millions of homeowners buying solar panels everywhere face an awful trade-off. Embrace the green future, and you're possibly purchasing the products of forced labor.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Embrace the green future or face the possibility that you're buying products that are the product of forced labor. Oh my, that's what
that's the conclusion that they make. That's the conclusion that they make. We saw nothing. We couldn't talk to anybody. We have zero evidence. But hey, you got a choice to make. You've got a choice to make. Buy tinted polysilicon from Xinjiang or pursue clean energy. How is that information? How is that? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, let's go back a little bit into language. And I know that we're going a little bit over time, but people are probably going to like this. Listen to the language of this lady, because this is what really gets me.
Attempting to say no to a forced labor program, for example, might land someone right back in a camp or in some other kind of carceral setting.
Oh, I'm just talking. I'm just saying something that nobody can prove. But here is probably the most important thing. And I'm not going to play the other video that I had, which is a video where Adrian Sands actually reveals how ignorant he is about labor transfers in Xinjiang.
Enough.
I'm not going to play that one. But
next time.
You see what I'm saying? We see what we're saying? We're saying they take nothing and sell it to you as something. And
Fernando,
now, once they get the population to support this idea, can you guys hear me? Once they get the people to support this idea, then the government goes and passes bills and things like that.
Fernando.
Yeah.
We made some great points tonight. We're out of time. We're going to pick it up in the next show. All right. Wrap it up, man. Wrap it up.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, if you like the content of our channel and our videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button. Give us a like. Share this video, please. Remember, YouTube is really playing tricks with us. So it's very important that you share these videos with all of your social media. And well, until we see you again, take it easy and bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.